Greetings and salutations, Fantasy League of Ordinary Gentlemen. It is I, your commissioner, Joe Johnson, coming to you for anything but ordinary Week 17. Not the last episode of the season, but it is the last week for fantasy football. For most of us, some of us play into Week 18. I know that most of us don't. We don't here in FLoOG, so we're not going to worry about Week 18. We're going to focus on Week 17, and of course, we got to talk about what happened in Week 16 that set us up for the championship week. It is what we have all worked so hard for. We will have a Super Bowl champion. We will have a third place matchup. We will have positioning for draft picks in 2024. We have things you don't work for, things you try not to be, and that is Forever Unclean. And it is all on the doorstep. So you already know, like and subscribe, get us out there. If you're just joining, you have so much to catch up on. Got to go back and watch and find out all the chaos, the sadness, the sorrow, the triumphant joy that has brought us here to Week 17. Of course, if you're a member, if you've been watching and you're sitting on the edge of your seat, we could have what is a career Cinderella story for a champion this year. We could have a second rookie be a champion this year. We could have a repeat for Forever Unclean. I thought we were going to have someone completely different. It could be, very well could be. We have so much to cover, but like I said, we have got to go over what happened in Week 16 so we know how our Week 17 got here, and with that, we will check out. There is our Round 2 consolation standings. It was a blowout. It wasn't close at all. Most of our games were blowouts this Week 17. Really, the only games that were any kind of close were all up in the championship bracket. Like I said, all blowouts here. Let us start with that top matchup with number 12, Josh Johnson, taking on number 9, Brock Hudgens. And Brock, it was yours to control. You got in round 1. You just got to get round 2 here. And Josh annihilates you 138 to 80. And Josh, with where you've been previously, longtime veteran, you ready to possibly get that number 1 pick. I don't know where you want to draft next year, but I'm just saying, if I'm not going to win the championship bracket, the next best thing is to win the consolation bracket. I get the bragging rights for that, but then I want the number 1 pick. And is it going to be CMC for next year? If you win, still got to win in Week 17. We'll talk about it. But your big win here in Week 16 over what was the number 1 here in consolation ladder. So let's break it down. Justin Fields coming through again, 24 points. We thought he was going to have a big day against Arizona. Clearly the case. CMC over 100 yards and a touchdown, 25 points. Antonio Gibson saves his day here. We talk about touchdown dependency. It makes all the difference. 10 points. Everything but your defense hits double digits. I mean, even before Hawkinson goes out, he gets 9.8. Okay, I'll give you 10 because he is who he is. Tyler Lockett 16, JSN 12. Big day against Tennessee. Don't understand what happened. That I couldn't get this, last week. We'll talk about it. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm getting antsy because I'm still upset. All right. Still angry, and then Jordan's telling me that, in the chat, things like, it's always been Austin and Forrest. Yeah. You know what I have to say about that, Jordan. We'll get there. We'll get you, because you know what? You're not there either, sir. Anyway, damn it, I hit my camera here. Okay, I blame you. That's your fault too, Jordan. Anyway, Hawkins, we talked about it. He got hurt. He still got you the 9 points. Wouldn't have made a difference if he got 0 here. Devonta Smith, huge day, 79 yards and a touchdown. We talked about it. Jacksonville was your lowest. The defense lowest score here is 1, and Sanders, 22 points there, channeling the inner Brandon Aubrey, right? Nothing was going right, Brock, this week. 80 points. Trevor Lawrence clearly severely banged up, turns the ball over 2 times, does not score into the double digits. Big Saquon Barkley day, but then nothing from Kenneth Walker, nothing from Waddle, nothing from Jameson Williams. I mean, no, all single digits, all below 9 points. Evan Ingram had a great day, 17 points, but just wasn't enough with your stack here. To make a difference. Devon Achane's another bad week, 4 points. So Kansas City defense, okay day, 7 points, and Butker the defense, Butker my gosh, the kicker 1 point. Get it out of your system, Joe. 80 points, just not enough to get a win in the championship rounds here. So you fall down one ring of the ladder, still a chance to get a top 3 choice. All is not lost, Brock. So plenty to play for here in the last round. But Josh, a big win to guarantee a first or second choice of where you want to draft at the end of the year. The second game of our consolation ladder features number 14, Luke Gilbertson, taking on number 10, Chandler Taylor, and the veteran gets a big win in this one. So, Gilby, that's 2 wins in a row. It wasn't a 100-point win, but it was enough over Chandler, and that puts you in a top 2 matchup to get a choice of your pick for 2024. Excellent. Jordan Love starting off, great week, 3 total touchdowns, 23 points when you needed him, when it counts. Aaron Jones, 14, Travis Etienne, 6. So, again, another of those top running backs still struggling from last week, but Aaron Jones really making up for it, and I'll say in a matchup that ends up being a little low scoring, I mean, at least for our league, you might say it's low scoring, 10 points between, or 20 points between 2 players, so that's good. Adam Thielen back into the production that you saw so much of at the beginning of the year, 15 points. Amon St. Brown controlling the game, arguably winning you this game, 28 points, especially when Hudson, your tight end, and Reed, for the first time, really lets you down. He does get banged up in this game, 0 points, and your defense goes negative. All in all, it still was enough to get a win here. 92 points. You kind of luck out, but better lucky than good. Likewise, Chandler, just disappointing. Josh Allen, does what he needs to do, but then James Cook and A.J. Dillon fall short here. Stephon Diggs, another really, really bad day. And everybody below 7 points there. I mean, not good at all. Devontae Parker ends up being one of your highest scoring players, 10 points. Kyle Pitts, actually, outside of your quarterback, is your highest scoring player. Does get into the end zone, 13. Hopkins, D-Hop, the wide receiver, gets 4 points. I told you not to start New Orleans. You did it anyway, -5. I mean, there's one of those crazy days where it's like a 2-point swing because his defense goes negative, so it really doesn't change too much here, other than the fact that a positive defense makes a huge difference here. And your kicker, 10, obviously don't think makes a difference and you win. Gilby, it's a nice win. I think you're going to need to have 100 points in week 17. And Chandler, no Forever Unclean matchup. You just miss out on getting what would be a top 3 choice. Maybe if you lose 4, but in this case, hey, you're still not the Forever Unclean matchup, which is all that matters going into week 17. The third matchup of the consolation ladder featured Dustin Warren and Jay Johnson. And in this game, an absolute blowout by Dustin. Jay, I really did. I thought you had this game, and you had some great scoring in the right areas, but not enough where it matters. It does not help that your opponent put 50 points on you, which absolutely changes this game. I mean, you both struggle in certain areas, but Amari Cooper changes the day here, and unfortunately, serious consequences for you gentlemen. We'll start with Dustin, as the productivity for Bryce Young. There it is. Finally, a blind pig will find a truffle in the woods eventually, am I right? 22 points, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. Miles Sanders, I mean, by all rights, Jay, you should win this game. Miles Sanders, 1 point. Brian Robinson ends up getting banged up, doesn't play, 0 points. Devontae Adams, 1 point. Cole Kmet, okay, 14 points, but still, I mean, what is that? Outside of the 20 points, it's 14, 15, 16 points out of 4 players. It's horrible. Scary Terry, no touchdowns, 50 yards, 8 points. Baltimore's defense has an okay day, 13. Have Brisket, the kicker, 11. The difference, 50 points. Joe Flacco does it again. 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 receptions. It changes the day. Dustin, if Amari Cooper doesn't have 50 points, you are in the Forever Unclean matchup. And Jay, you needed it was an okay day. Michael Pittman going out changes the situation in this game completely. Your kicker goes negative. It's disappointing. You should have won this game even with the 89 points. Lamar Jackson had a great day, 22 points. Joe Mixon, 9 points. Javonte Williams, 10. Justin Jefferson had a huge day, 26 points. You struggled. Wide receiver 2, 1 point. Dalton Kincaid, another just absolute atrocious day, 1.7 points. And against a soft defense, it just wasn't going to happen. Jacoby Myers goes positive, 7 points. Detroit, what a great waiver pickup and play, gets the 11 points. I mean, it's a 2-point difference between Baltimore, who had a great day. Your kicker, the fact that McManus and that Jacksonville got controlled so poorly. Negative. I mean, sure, you could blame it a little. Maybe you scored in the 90s, but the difference is Amari Cooper, who does get banged up. He is injured. You're monitoring that going into week 17, but the outcome that is, welcome to the chaos that is the Fantasy League of Ordinary Gentlemen, where one player scoring 50 points can determine an outcome of a match. Jay, it puts you back in the Forever Unclean matchup in 2 in a row. Oh my goodness. We'll talk more about that, but it's a disappointing loss. Big win, Dustin, you were the worst team. And what did I say? If you go back and you listen, I think it was 2 episodes minimum ago. I've said it multiple times, but what did I say about just because you finish in the regular season as the worst team does not mean you will be Forever Unclean. Not in this league. You got to get through 3 rounds of crap, and it finds and you will find who really is the worst team after 17 weeks of football. And I'm not saying that's the case, Jay. I think that at the end of the day, you got to have a little luck, and I think Forrest sucked all of it up. We're not there yet. We're gonna get to it, but he did. He used it, and it left nothing for the shit demon, and you're fighting out of it. I've tried to fight your way out of it again in week 17. The 4th and final matchup of the consolation ladder, also having huge ramifications for the Forever Unclean round 3 matchup, was number 15, Brennan Scala, taking on number 13, Evan Coles, and Brennan pulls it off. It was one of the closer matchups of the consolation ladder. It still was a 14-point difference, and Brennan, you did what you needed to do. Not all of your choices this week were good. I was even behind you on the Taysom Hill play, but it didn't pan out. It still doesn't matter. You still win. It was so close as Tommy DeVito gets 2 points against Philadelphia. Not what somehow Drew Lock had. There's Drew Lock at 12 points somehow, but can do it against Philadelphia, but not Tommy DeVito. Okay. Jonathan Taylor gets 10. There's the DeAndre Swift hits the 15. Cooper Kupp, a pedestrian day, 10 points. And we talk about what's wide receivers saving people. The George Pickens against Cincinnati, huge day, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, absolutely makes the difference. Evan, them both, Jay and Evan, sitting. It's like the John Travolta from Pulp Fiction. What? What? How did we get here? What's going on? We're playing the worst people in the league, and yet we're not in Forever Unclean matchup because of crazy wide receivers dropping crazy points. Taysom Hill 0.2 points. Najee Harris, I saw you switching him back and forth. I knew that it wasn't guaranteed to be a Najee Harris. A minute I was like, do you want to go with Najee Harris? At the end of the day, it proves to be a good decision because 13 points makes this a lot closer. Washington's defense, which was considered a top 10 play, turns out not to be, as they get destroyed by the Jets. And then Moody, the kicker, 6. Evan, but it's a disappointing loss, 82 points. Brennan, you got the 96. Patrick Mahomes, again, disappointing, 16 points, against Las Vegas. Kansas City clearly struggling. That offensive line, I don't know. It's out of sorts. I don't know what's going on, but I think moving forward, you really need to look at the week that is the matchup. I haven't looked yet, but you need to look at what the matchup is for Patrick Mahomes in Week 17, especially given the matchup you have, because if it's a tough matchup, you may be going with Baker, I believe is who on your bench there. Alvin Kamara in a right matchup does not have a good day, 8 points. Gus Edwards, 14, finds the end zone again. Now, given that Mitchell was out, we thought that would be the case, and of course it is, as he does find the end zone without it. Only 31 yards. Just throwing that out there. Chris Godwin, 13 points. OBJ, rough day, 3 points. The Muth, another 0 points. I have Pat Freiermuth in another league. I have stopped using him. You have got to find another tight end. I don't care who it is. I get George Pickens just had 35 points. You cannot trust him. You absolutely cannot trust Pat Freiermuth at this point in time. Same with Jerry Jeudy. He's doing nothing. There are people on your bench who scored more. Denver has an interesting matchup in Week 17. I don't know if you can trust Jerry Jeudy in Week 17. I really think if you don't want to be Forever Unclean, you're looking elsewhere. San Francisco, the defense, I should have actually played Baltimore because I have Baltimore in my other league, and I benched them for Philadelphia, who does what San Francisco did for you, and really I should just kept Baltimore, but one of those weeks where even last week I would tell you, you're not playing San Francisco's defense, you're not playing Baltimore's defense, because this is why. Justin Tucker, 16 points, he was one of your highest scoring players, and without minus 0.7 points, would have been your highest scoring player. We talk about it when your kicker or your defense or your highest scoring player usually means you lose the game, and that is the case, and it puts you in an interesting matchup with your longtime friend and my little brother, Jay Johnson, in Week 17. We're not there yet, but Brennan, congratulations, you did. It didn't look good in Week 1. Didn't look good in Week 1, especially when you're that low on the game. You forget, I forget to set a lineup and I lose Week 1. It wouldn't have mattered. And then a big bounce back. Congratulations. Now you're playing for a better pick in 2024 and not having to worry about Forever Unclean here in 2023. That will bring us to our championship consolation ladder here in round 2. And these two matchups, just like our consolation round 2 matchups, complete blowouts, not even close. I'm sitting here, nothing I could have done to even, I thought about playing Joe Flacco, and I was like, who cares? I'll risk it's the one time, if I guarantee you I would have played Joe Flacco if I was in the semifinal, but since it didn't matter, I was like, I'll risk the Purdy, Baltimore matchup. Sure, of course it wouldn't, I don't think it would have made a difference. He'd scored 25 points, and then of course, I was looking forward to, I hadn't played Jack Little Raven, and we were do not plays, of course, everyone doesn't play one person. Jack Little Raven wasn't, so I was actually looking forward to playing Jack Little Raven had I beat Aaron Grog, and getting our one matchup for the year. It didn't happen, and of course, Aaron Felch, disappointing loss. Much like myself, can't find a win here in the postseason, and trying to just improve your positioning for 2024. Let's break it down. It's game 1, number 5. co-commissioner Aaron Grogg taking on number one Joe Johnson, commissioner, and it's a commissioners matchup, and Aaron Grogg getting some revenge for Bourbon Bowl, a Christmas present, and a win here in week 16. Matthew Stafford, 20 points. I mean, everybody goes off. I think the only people who don't go into double digits were your defense and your kicker, who still remain positive. Breece Hall, 43 freaking points. 2 touchdowns. I mean, just unreal, the usage, the volume in that game. Kyron Williams goes for over 100 yards, gets into the end zone. Tyreek Hill almost gets 100 yards, 99 yards, but gets the 9 receptions, so it puts him over the 10 mark, 18 total points. Calvin Ridley gets 2 touchdowns. You see what happens when your players get touchdowns? Yeah, you win championship rounds. That's what happens. So, Calvin Ridley, 28 points. I love that I draft Chigokonkwo, and he does absolutely nothing for me all year. Rashid Shaheed, huge day, 70 yards and a touchdown. I thought the matchup with the Rams would be good. Turns out to be so. Doesn't matter. Philadelphia, the defense, 6. And Group A, the kickers, 2. It's 169 points. Wouldn't have mattered if Brock Purdy scored 25. Wouldn't have mattered if I picked up Joe Flacco and got his 24. Would have made it a little more interesting, but it wouldn't have changed the outcome. And Brock Purdy is who I did end up going with, and he gets banged up after throwing 4 interceptions. And then look at that. Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry, after going 0.4 and 5, couldn't get 6 points between the two of them, get 40 plus points this week. It all amounts to nothing still. TT, as, again, my opponent puts 170 points on the board. Rashee Rice, another great week, unfortunately doesn't find the end zone. A.J. Brown also fails to find the end zone and only gets 80 yards, still gets 14 points. Isaiah Likely comes down to earth, at least when you talk about the weeks he's had. As for tight ends, 8.6, it's a great, it's an okay tight end day. Better than okay. I'll take 8 points every week. If you told me that a tight end was going to score 8.6 points every week, I would draft them immediately. Zay Flowers, a huge day, 22 points, gets a touchdown. Cleveland's defense, 9. Brandon Aubrey, 9 points. This gets me a win last week. It's 117 points. It's like I tell many of you, and have had to rarely tell myself this year, but it is true. You like the production. You don't like the outcome. Congratulations, Mr. Co-Commissioner. Merry Christmas. A fantasy-wrapped present for you. Again, revenge for Bourbon Bowl this year. Still doesn't count, though, because it's the playoffs. It's the postseason, not Bourbon Bowl, even though you keep trying to mix them. They're different. They're separate. And, but hey, it is a postseason win, which I had the edge on, and now I think we're tied now. I'd have to look it up. Can't remember. I know it's close. But either way, congratulations on your win. It was great to play on Christmas. Wouldn't have it any other way, except to be in the actual championship game, which I know our next 2 owners and the next matchup of our championship constellation ladder. God, a lot of title for this section of the league right now. But number 7, Aaron Felch, and number 6, Jack Little Raven going at it, and a little closer than our matchup, but still a big blowout. It comes down to 22 points here. Will Levis banged up, not playing. 0 points, and it was happening. The goose egg's real, Mr. Felch, this week. And you had 3 players 0 out, and you still scored 91 points. So just disappointing. Luck does not happen. We talked about it. Will Levis out. James Conner, big day, 22 points. There's Rachaad White with 19 points. Solid play. CeeDee Lamb did exactly what you needed to do, 25 points. Cortland Sutton, unfortunately, almost cost me a win in another league. I started him. It was a great week to start him, and unfortunately gets a concussion in this game. And, in a game we should have completely won, I think it makes a difference. We lose this game, playoff hopes go out of the window. It's over for the Broncos. You can even tell we've already started. Russell's not playing in week 17. We're done. We've signed shop. So, I don't even think you can use Cortland Sutton. Any Broncos, you can use Broncos running backs. You cannot use Broncos wide receivers moving forward in the final round here. Higbee got 6. Okay, you'll take it. And then Garrett Wilson, double digits, 15 points, doesn't find the end zone. But you need your 50 points, better than the 5 you got last week, right? Green Bay, another goose egg after allowing Carolina to score 30 points. And McPherson, the kicker, 3. Unfortunately, 91 points, not enough to get a win. And Jack Little Raven improving, positioning for 2024 and getting a win here, ending things on a high note. Still one more week to go, of course. But you like to see the number 113 points. It was more than you scored last week. Dak Prescott, 18 points. Zeke gets 21. Tyson Chandler comes in. One might say a little bit too late here. 7 points. Mike Evans has another big day, 27 points. You'll need to keep that going moving forward. Washington, I like how you bring in as a flex play here, only 3.9 points. A lot better than other, waiver pickups, if you will. Travis Kelce, 9 points. Not a great day, especially against Las Vegas. George Kittle, it's 126 yards on 7 receptions, 19.6 points. Dallas's defense in and out of sorts again, zeros out on Goose. So actually, nothing positive or negative for either owner here defensive wise. Bass the kicker gets 6 points. It's enough to get a win. Jack Little Raven here and put you in a matchup with the co-commissioner in week 17. And like I said, Aaron, you and I struggling for wins in the postseason. One of us will find one next week, but we're not there yet. We've still got a couple more games to cover here in week 16. So, guys, that brings up the championship bracket with our 4 semifinalists, and it was closer, as you can see, much, much closer than any of the other sections of the bracket. The 4-8 matchup was almost a blowout. I mean, it comes within 15 points. And then the 2-3 matchup, knowing that both owners are very, very closely ranked. And Derek, you knew you couldn't keep winning every single close matchup, and you fall within another 5. It's another 5-point loss to a very close opponent, and Forrest, the Grand Wizard, puts his ticket into his first ever championship game. I cannot believe it. Let's break down these games. The first one, like I said, the number 8 matchup as Jordan Payne takes on friend and fellow rookie, number 4, Austin Allen. We knew one of these rookies was going to make it into the championship round. Jordan, you made a good go of it. Scored more than you did last week, which is a positive thing. Geno Smith gets you 17 points. Austin Eckler, not a great day, but at least gives you double-digit points in the game against Buffalo, 11. Zamir White, in lieu of Josh Jacobs, has another great game, 14 points. I thought it might have been over. I was like, Jordan is going to win again. 33 points from Puka Nacua. It was just the points kept coming. And I was like, with Cooper Kupp only getting 10, I was like, oh man. I mean, Austin has got to be sweating bullets. And then, what I thought was not that Darren Waller would have been a better play, but I thought that Deontay Johnson would be a better play than he was. I know we talked about maybe playing Darren Waller, but I just can't imagine George Pickens having 35 points. I mean, he gets 2 touchdowns. That one of those doesn't go to Deontay Johnson here. I don't have to tell you, right? Trey McBride, 9 points. It's not the 20 that you got last week, but still 9 points. We talk that's good tight end production. DK Metcalf, 15, scores 3 more than he did last week. Denver's defense, who I wished you had used last week, but you didn't. 6 points. Hopkins, the kicker, gets banged up, but he still scores 2 points. Does that make a difference in this game? I don't think so. It's 112 points. It's a respectable number. You like the production. You don't like the outcome. And we used the term last week, island of misfit toys. And it seems that your makeup feels more that way, Jordan. But at the end of the day, looking at all of the injuries that Austin has occurred, it really maybe should be more accurately applied to you, sir. And I will say, Austin, to deal with the injuries you've dealt with, to pick up the people off of the waiver wire that you did. I mean, Jake Browning scoring the way he has, and not just him, the other people. It's really amazing. It truly is amazing that things have gone your way, and there is some validity to to Jordan's statement that it has felt like the winds have blown in your direction, and they sure did this week with 127 points. Now, Jake Browning, 13 points seems a little more realistic to what he should score, but that's after throwing 3 interceptions. So really, he should have 6 more points here. Would mean he scored 19 fucking points. That's ridiculous. Isaiah Pacheco, before getting banged up in this game, gets taken out, 10 points. Montgomery, another solid day, 14 points. T. Higgins, without Jamar Chase, 25 points, 140 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, there it is. I mean, if we want to put a solid stamp on the trade discussion, does Deontay Johnson or Brandon Ayuk end up having the better value? Well, how about the team that ends up winning? And 17 points is a game changer in this game. So we could very possibly say that Austin wins the trade because he wins the semifinal matchup. Njoku, fucking unreal. I'm pretty sure I had Njoku on my team at one point in time. And it's like, I know he's been passed around a while, and here you are ending up with him, and he's scoring 20 points, 27 points, 16 points. I mean, good Lord, how does it, are you over there stroking off the Grand Wizard for some magic juice? What are you doing, Austin? You're a rookie. You're not supposed to have this success. Singletary, 9 points. Who cares? Chicago's defense, 14. And for somebody who wants to complain about losing to kickers in the regular season, puts one on his opponent, 17 points. Jake Elliott getting 17 points makes a difference in this game. It's a big win. Congratulations, Austin, on being the rookie in this matchup who will face off with our longtime veteran in our championship Super Bowl 11 matchup. That'll bring us to the second matchup of our consolation ladder. Our other 2 semifinalists, number 3, Derek Ash, taking on number 2, Forrest Heart of the Cards Doshier. And Derek, it's another 5-point loss. So close. A month and a half of the most difficult matchups I think any owner has faced in the 2023 season at the end of the year to still finish number 3, to get to the semifinals. Hold your head up high, man. It was a rough week for you. Still scored 100 points, and it was close. It took everything. Just Forrest truly tapped into the shit wins and the heart of the cards to get his win and get his first ever championship berth. Let's break it down. Tua gets 15 points. He gets in the end zone, but it was a tough game against Dallas. So I think you're happy to have this 15 points. Gibbs, fantastic. Still with a fumble, scores 24 points. I told you that the Chase Brown matchup was bad. I thought that we could find value elsewhere. I understand being lighted positions, but at least he got the 4 points, man. I mean, I'll say that. Chris Olave, 23 points, 123 yards, just couldn't find the end zone here. And DJ Moore, who has been more reliable than he has been in, multiple years, is coming back down to earth. It's worse than that. It's a subpar day. 3 receptions for 18 yards, 4 points. Sam Laporta, who has gotten you where you are, 20 points, arguably the best, could easily make an argument for the best tight end of 2023, will be a top tight end pick in 2024, 4 points. Oh my goodness. Tony Pollard, now this is something we kind of really more could expect. Tony Pollard hasn't been playing well, has another rough game here against Miami, 5 points, 38 yards. It's really, really bad. The Jets defense gets you a solid 10. Myers, your kicker, 8. It's 100 points. It's okay. It's not horrible. It's not great. Can your opponent either come in, have a subpar day, and it almost was there. It was a rough week for Forrest, too. He's dealing with some injuries, having to bring in backups just like you are. Just like you are. He just got a little more production out of him than you did, Derek. And maybe it's because he is the Grand Wizard. Jalen Hurts, this is really two players where you can say, guarantee you this win. Jalen Hurts comes in and has a big, big game. We knew it would be against the Giants, but has a turnover, still gets 23 points. Absolutely makes a difference in this game. Raheem Mostert gets banged up, but he gets in the end zone, 12 points. Justice Hill, we talk about coming in and having to play backup. Both of you having to play backup running backs here, and Justice Hill ekes out 4.3. I mean, here's 4.3 points. I mean, you take away the extra, just the couple extra points that Justice Hill has over Chase Brown here, this game's within a point. This is how tight this game gets. Oh my goodness. Jordan Addison goes out of this game 1.2 points. It was big Is Forrest going to be able to come back and then get the lead on Derek without a wide receiver? Might as well have not had a wide receiver one play. Nico Collins comes in with a subpar 13 points. He's lucky he got into the end zone, because if not, he gets 18 yards and that's it. I mean, and then no touchdown here. Derek wins the game, Forrest. Huge. And you see with DJ Moore, you see the difference. I mean, it's right there, between Jordan Addison. I mean, we're talking about, 3 points there? Ferguson gets just enough, 8 points, to get over Sam Laporta. How Sam Laporta does. I mean, and I don't have to, Derek sitting there saying the same thing. How does Sam Laporta only get 4 points against Minnesota? Debo, who does not do anything close to the 30, 29 points, doesn't even get double digits. All Brandon Ayuk, 4 receptions for 47 points in a game that I thought you would need Debo to be Debo. He does nothing. He does nothing close to a first-round pick, and yet you still win the game, Forrest, you lucky bastard. Buffalo defense, and what absolutely changes everything is Buffalo's Cameron Dicker getting 21 points. How many semifinal matches did Cameron Dicker win for managers? Unbelievable. You could say the same thing about Jake Elliott, right? But at the end of the day, it is a win. Derek, it's a disappointing loss. We talked about it. A chance of a third place finish and maybe some money. You'll have to beat a very tough number 8 Jordan. But then Forrest, your first, not only the first time in the playoffs, not only the best season of your life, you get a chance to go to the big dance, taking on a rookie. We'll talk about it in week 17. It is championship weekend, and we're going to open up with our 9th place game. It will control who wins the consolation ladder, and it will decide who will walk away with their choice of a top 8 pick in 2024. And we have number 14, Luke Gilbertson, taking on number 12, Josh Johnson, two longtime veterans. I like to see that in another section of our league that two veterans are in charge, if you will, of the standings here. It will be redemption for a very rough season if Luke manages to win the consolation ladder, of course, getting his choice, and I can't imagine anybody not wanting that number 1 pick for 2024. Of course, Josh doesn't feel any less deserving of a win here. It has been a rough season for him as well. The last bit of the year not going his way. A chance, either way, you're ending up with a top 2 choice, but a chance to end things on a high note. Let's break it down. In this game, it is separated by 3 points. It literally could go either way. Luke throwing out Jordan Love, getting the matchup with Minnesota. I like it. Aaron Jones and Travis Etienne, running backs 1 and 2. Aaron Jones got 14 points last week. Can he find more success against Minnesota this week? And I would like to say Travis Etienne has a bounce back game here for 2 very rough weeks, but Carolina's apparently been playing well. I don't really know. I would hope that Travis Etienne gets more than 7 points in this game. I think based off what I saw last week and some of the matchups that Josh has this week, you need him to have a big game here, Gilby. Adam Thielen returned to some early season form. You need him to hit the double digits again against Jacksonville. They're ailing. I think it's very possible, especially if Carolina's, been playing in the form they have been. I could expect another 12, 15 points here. Amon St. Brown, maybe temper expectations here, but for Dallas, but look what happened with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill last week. So I have no doubts that this game, with Dallas's defense struggling, that Amon St. Brown could be in for a huge game here. Could be a game match determining situation here. Hudson, maintaining Hudson as a tight end. Why not? Now Reed is banged up. I see you do have him in the flex position. Monitoring that, you may have to change him out, but the triple stack with Aaron Jones, and I think that had Reed not gone out of last week's game, I think that you have a more handy win than you did over Chandler last week. So need Indianapolis's defense not to go negative. That would be nice. And Falk, the kicker, it's 111, so you do have the slight edge, Gilby, but Josh put up 138 last week. Justin Fields a big part of that, but taper expectation this week, Josh, as they run into Atlanta, who is number 8 against quarterbacks. Maybe even trying to find, maybe go up against, throw Joe Flacco out there, right? I think he's still available. CMC gets Washington, which you could not ask for a better matchup. That could be a 40-point day. Talk about a matchup determining, outcome. CMC has a 40-point day here. I don't think Gilby wins this game. Antonio Gibson gets San Francisco on the vice versa. So, yeah, don't like that. And I think Brian Robinson might be back. So, touchdown dependent boomer bust play there. Tyler Lockett and JSN have got to have the weeks they did last week. Have to get double digits, massive volume, 12 points plus both. And against Pittsburgh, possible, could get into a bit of a shootout as well. Hunter Henry gets Buffalo. We talk about it. Maybe the tougher defenses provide better play, but, we're getting to that point where people start trying. So you just hope that New England keeps things going with Bill Belichick as the coach. You would imagine that's the case. Donta Smith needs another big week. Jacksonville, the defense, and Jason Sanders, the kicker. You're right there with him. It's 107. Like I said, it's still projected in Gilby's favor, and this game is going to be close. It's 50-50. It could go either way, but what I think really makes the difference, because at the end of the day, this is so close, and CMC is going to really make this, could really fuck my decision here. Like I said, Gilby, if CMC puts up 40, I think you're done. But when it comes to overall balanced, play, I think your wide receiver, you don't have the double Seattle hookup, so you're not completely dependent on one matchup. I think Amon St. Brown does have a big game here. I like the running back play as a more balanced play. I mean, CMC is better than both running backs put together, but nevertheless, it just seems a little more balanced. I don't like Justin Fields in this matchup with Arizona. So, in this week 17, the final week to win the consolation ladder, give me Luke Gilbertson, number 14, to get a little justice here after having the most points scored against him all year, can at least walk away with his choice of a pick in 2024. That will take us to our 11th place game, which will feature number 16, Dustin Warren, taking on number 9, Brock Hudgens. Brock will start and say that it's disappointing that you don't get to vie for a number 1 or a number 2 pick in 2024. So that's disappointing. You still are going to get a possible top, you will guarantee to get a top 4 choice. Could end up with the number 3 choice, and it's been a rough year, but to still finish in the consolation ladder top 3, something to hold your head up about. The one thing that's nice about any tournament, whether it be the actual tournament or the not in tournament, if you will, you still walk away with some bragging rights, and that's really important, especially considering where you guys are at. Even more so, you guys get more to play for, but we're like where I'm at, and Aaron Grog, Aaron Felch, Jack Little Raven, so on and so forth. So disappointing a little bit, but still a possibility of ending on a high note. On the other hand, Dustin, it was all woe, man. You were in the worst position to end up as Forever Unclean. You've had 2 huge wins. You crazy luck last week to get one over on your cousin Jay, and now a chance for you went from being the laughing stock of the league. You could end up with a top 3 position, a top 3 choice for positioning in 2024. So let's talk about this 11th place game. Dustin, it's 50-50. Could go either way. Gonna bring out Bryce Young one more time. Can he score into the 20s? Gets Jacksonville? I doubt it, but it's just a whim and a prayer at this point in time. We talked about Brian Robinson maybe coming back. He is still questionable. You're watching that, and on top of that, it's San Francisco. You saw what they did. They weren't able to do much against Baltimore, but I think they're going to come back playing angry after getting just wadded up. So, you're going to taper your expectation. Jaleel McLaughlin comes in as running back 2 here and gets the Chargers, so you like that matchup. Devonta Adams and Amari Cooper, wide receivers 1 and 2. Devonta Adams has to do better than 1 point if you're going to win this game. And then Amari Cooper, you'll take another 50 points, I imagine, if it means getting a win. And he gets the Jets, though, so I can't imagine Joe Flacco, who has been on fire. I mean, he looks like the Joe Flacco of old. I mean, I would have never have guessed, especially he's come in and played replacement quarterback for other teams before and has not looked like he's looked better than Deshaun Watson. He's looked better than Baker in the time that they were there. I mean, my goodness. But against this Jets defense, I just can't imagine that being the case here. So yes, don't anticipate 50 points this week. Cole Kmet, against Atlanta, can't imagine him at least getting 10. Scary Terry, taper expectations, San Francisco. I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on Sam Howell. Baltimore's defense, who was a great play last week, Miami, why not run them again? It's the last week of the regular of the entire season. Have Rissick, the kicker. It is 96.6. It is a half-point projection. It is in your favor. It's still 50-50. You're right there with him, Brock. You've got some banged up players. You are monitoring injury reports this week, man. Let me tell you. First of all, it starts with T-Law, who gets Carolina. So the matchup for your stack this week is good. You just need, you need Trevor Lawrence, who hasn't looked good lately, to produce. And I don't think that there's a better quarterback play out there, but man, talk about people who may be looking to pick up Joe Flacco even against the Jets. If Trevor Lawrence is not going to play here, that may be an option for you. And even if he is going to play, his mobility is severely hindered right now. Saquon Barkley also banged up, but gets a great matchup against the Rams. Kenneth Walker gets Pittsburgh. You saw what Cincinnati could do last week. I'm absolutely not afraid of Pittsburgh's defense. Jalen Waddle gets Baltimore, so you're definitely tapering expectations there, as well as the fact that he's banged up. Jameson Williams gets Dallas, so just tough defense when it comes to your wide receiver core here. It lets up a bit with your stack. You would think that if Trevor Lawrence can play and he's healthy, that it's a great matchup. So Evan Ingram could have a great day here, but then right back to the tough matchup. Devon A-Chain with Baltimore. Kansas City gets Cincinnati, which you actually like. I think Kansas City's defense could feast there as long as they can, don't have to stay on the field the entire time, as long as that offense can get going. And then Butker, the kicker, it's 96 points. It's literally a half a point, could go either way. And Brock, like I said, I would like to say, when you look at your team overall, it's a little more balanced. Dustin has this very heavy wide receiver core, but it's not consistent, and tough matchups for him as well. The several players playing San Francisco. You have the Jets matchup, the Atlanta matchup, and at the end of the day, Dustin with the tough matchups, and I just don't see it being that consistent. I know you've got a slight, and I do mean slight edge here, but really what it comes down to is I don't like either running back play. Brian Robinson against a very tough San Francisco defense. I imagine that what happened last week will not happen this week. McLaurin against San Francisco, I don't like that. I don't like the Bryce Young. Amari Cooper won't score 50 points against the Jets. Joe Flacco won't score 24 against the Jets. I just think it's a bit too much to overcome. I will say Jalen Waddle probably is not going to play, and that's why this projection is still as close as it is. Once Brock brings in someone else to replace him, he's going to gain probably 5 to 7 points. So we imagine this goes up to 101. And that is where my choice is going to lie once this wide receiver replacement gets taken care of. Give me the guy who ends up being the better record. You are, at the end of the day, the number 9 seed, Brock. I can't imagine you losing this game. Dustin's had a lot of luck, and he's going to need some luck to beat you. But I don't think that luck can last 3 weeks in a row. So give me number 9, Brock Hudgens, to get his number 3 choice of draft pick in 2024. We're going to keep things going here with our 13th place game, number 15, Brennan Scala, taking on number 10, Chandler Taylor. And Brennan, much like Dustin, you were at the bottom of the barrel. You needed it was a tough round 1 loss. You needed a big round 2 win and some things to go your way, and you were able to find it. Can you do that again against a tough opponent and help your draft choices in next year? Chandler, it's been rough. Haven't been able to find a win. Welcome to the club, my friend, of a lack of postseason wins. But you knew that no matter what, there was no way you were going to be forever unclean. So at the end of the day, you're okay when it comes to, that position. But what you want to do is end with some bragging rights, end on the high note. And, it's a chance to get one on an opponent who at least record-wise and position-wise finished much lower than you. Let's break down that game. Brennan, it does look like CJ Stroud is going to be back, and it's unfortunate that you're hoping to get a win here, Chandler, and Brennan's getting some people back that he hasn't had. That's kind of put him in a position to be where he's been in, somewhat the way he drafted. Knew he was going to have to deal with some early matchup losses because of Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor, but then having injuries occur with Aaron Rodgers and CJ Stroud, losing him has really hindered the end of the year. So maybe a little bit of return to normal form here at the end of the year, Brennan. And CJ Stroud, if he plays, love the matchup with Tennessee. Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift, running backs 1 and 2, and excellent, much to your chagrin, Chandler, excellent matchups. Las Vegas and Arizona, respectively, easily could hit double digits here. And the matchup juiciness continues, Brennan, as Cooper Kupp and George Pickens get wide receivers 1 and 2, and they get the Giants and Seattle. I mean, it could be another 20, 30-point game for George Pickens. Now, I'd really think that would be Deontay Johnson. I don't know how it ended up being George Pickens last week, but I can't imagine that this matchup isn't good for either. I mean, it's good for the wide receivers of both teams. I mean, these defenses are not good. Cooper Kupp, again, a big chance to bounce back from a 10-point week last week. Dalton Schultz gets Tennessee. The stack with Stroud, if he's back, I love this. This could be a huge game-determining matchup here. Najee Harris hoping to hit the double digits again against Seattle. Clearly, this Seattle Pittsburgh matchup going to be very big for you, Brennan. And I always forget when we get to the defenses. You got the Pittsburgh defense, which could be good. It could be equally as bad. It's a coin toss on the matchup this week. But if I had to pick, I'd go with Pittsburgh's defense over Seattle's defense for sure. I may be looking at the waiver wire to see if there's just something a little better. And it's not, the waiver wire is not looking good. But maybe there's something that's better than this. Just maybe. I don't know. You go look. It's not for me to decide. Moody, the kicker, 112 on the projection. And I'll say this, Brennan, you have the projection in your favor by 11.5 points. Chandler coming in with some tough defensive matchups. And I think you may be looking for a possible running back change here, given, what you're dealing with production-wise. So let's start with Josh Allen, who needs another big day against New England. I can't imagine that not being the case. This is a big rival for Buffalo, and, it's a chance for them to pour it on New England for all the times New England poured it on them. James Cook, who, struggled last week after so much productivity, 30-point game, gets nothing last week. Can he get back against New England, who could be stingy? Taper your expectation there. A.J. Dillon, and this is what I was talking about with maybe playing someone else, especially if Aaron Jones is back and the starter. A.J. Dillon cannot be started. You need to look elsewhere for running back play. Stephon Diggs, can he end the year on a high note? He's starting. You're playing him, but it has been so bad since they have moved to this run-heavy offense. They've got to get Stephon Diggs involved for you to get a win here. Devontae Parker's been great. Clearly, the New England-Buffalo game going to be a big one for you, and you may be tapering expectation a little bit here for Devontae Parker, given that Buffalo is a very good defense. Kyle Pitts could use another end zone reception here, and the matchup with Chicago is right. D-Hop, the wide receiver, gets Tennessee. You like that matchup. And I will say, you like his quarterback throwing to your wide receiver. That usually ends in your favor. New Orleans, the defense, and listen to me this week, Chandler, do not play New Orleans defense against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is very good. They have everything to play for. If they win this game, they pretty much win their division, and you cannot. New Orleans defense has been questionable. Do not start New Orleans defense against Tampa Bay. It's a division matchup. Sure, it could be close, but this could get into a shootout. And more importantly, Tampa Bay could pour it on New Orleans big time this weekend. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think New Orleans is going to blow them out, and their defense is going to go negative, and this could hurt you really bad again. Santos, the kicker, and right now it's a 10-point swing. And I feel that almost the way I feel about New Orleans with this matchup right now. And if CJ Stroud plays, you have the matchup and the stack with Dalton Schultz. I think that could be good. The matchups, almost every single matchup you have, Brennan, is good. It's not as juicy. It's like mediocre and tough for you, Chandler. I think there's some key changes, and there's not really a lot to change, too. Unless you've got it on your bench, maybe you can scrape some life off of a boomer bust play and they boom on the waiver wire. Now, defensively, you may find something different defensively that'll work, but at least for a running back too, I don't even know. But this screams Brennan. I am going to go with what I think the projection is showing. Give me number 15, Brennan Scala, to finish the year on the high note and get a win in Week 17. That will bring us to the last matchup of the consolation ladder. It's the 15th place game, but more commonly referred to as the Forever Unclean Round 3 matchup, and we will have a repeat Forever Unclean or possibly a new Forever Unclean. But I tell you what, Jay, it's not looking good, and you have a longtime friend, Evan Coles, coming into this game. And first of all, I want to point out, how do we have a 6-8 and a 5-9 team? You guys aren't even in the bottom 3 teams. And here you fuckers are trying not to be the worst team in the league, and that's just what you run into. I said it before that there are times where just because you're the worst record team in the Fantasy League of Ordinary Gentlemen does not mean that you end up as Forever Unclean, okay? It doesn't mean you end up as the worst. You still got to get through 17 total weeks of football, and this game is very, very one-sided, and it doesn't look good. Evan, I hate to say it. It's been a roller coaster. You saw some success mid-season, but you couldn't finish with it. And now one of your longtime friends has a position to make you the laughing stock of the league, and a position he's had to deal with all year. I guarantee you he doesn't want to repeat the situation that he's in. 1 year is Forever Unclean is enough to make you want to quit. 2 years, I've seen people quit because of that. Okay, we've had it happen. So it doesn't look good. I just want to say, it doesn't look good, Evan. Let's break it down. I like the quarterback play, but it just might be a little too late as Baker Mayfield comes in against New Orleans. I like it. You heard me just talk about, the situation with Chandler starting New Orleans defense. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Baker is going to have a great day here. Alvin Kamara, likewise, this is going to be a big game for you. Alvin Kamara runs into a stingy Tampa Bay defense. Now, they clearly get into games where they allow a lot of points. You're going to start him. You need him to have a big day. He's got to have double digits. Gus Edwards, the one thing, at least, it's a tough matchup with Miami, but the one thing is he's going to get touchdown work. He's going to get goal line work. He's fallen into the end zone without Mitchell being there. Now Justice Hill's getting the work. Justice Hill is the preferred back, but it's Gus Edwards that's the preferred goal line look, and that's what you need is touchdowns. Chris Godwin and OBJ have got to find production. And you could argue OBJ has been, to your chagrin, just a hole in the team. He had, minus the touchdown potential. I mean, he really not a lot to him. And that just seems to be, I don't care, even Zay Flowers, it's been better, but it still just depends. Like, can Lamar get him into the end zone to make any of these wide receivers in Baltimore relevant? Logan Thomas, I also like coming in as your tight end play. He's more consistent, even in tough games. We talk about tough games being good for tight ends, and I think you're making the right decision here in swapping your tight ends to Logan Thomas. I even thought you should have done it last week, and it may have made a difference. But at least going into this week, good play with the Logan Thomas play. Jerry Jeudy, who, with Cortland Sutton looking like he's not going to play, I was going to argue against you not playing him. And I believe I did mention it earlier in the episode. You can't use him in week 17. But if Cortland Sutton doesn't play, even though Russell Wilson's not going to play, he becomes the sole wide receiver against a horrible Chargers defense. The dude could actually get into the end zone, and I would be okay. Don't get me wrong, Evan, if you went with another wide receiver in this game, I'm okay with that. I think there are several options on your bench that are just as good as Jerry Jeudy at this point in time. So if you choose to go with someone else, I don't blame you. If you choose to keep him, he's still touchdown, especially given just the situation. Touchdown dependent, boomer bust player. San Francisco's defense juicy against Washington, and then Justin Tucker, the kicker, could be another big week for him, given the tough matchup with Miami. It's 102 on your projection, and like I said, it's a 15, almost 16-point swing in the favor of the current Forever Unclean. Don't get it confused. And Jay, please, you cannot, my brother, Johnson, okay, cannot be the worst team in the league again. Lamar Jackson gets Miami, and you've got to hope it's a big day. Maybe the being a tough matchup means he runs more, but I mean, you would think he does better than Baker here, surely, and it's just one of those unfortunate things. He seems to have a big day, and then it's 3 weeks of bad matchups. So it needs to have a big game here against Miami, especially to shut out Baker. I think Baker's due for a bigger game than his projection foretells. Joe Mixon against Kansas City, so tapering expectation a little bit, but Javonte Williams, it's the only thing I'm actually semi-okay with here, and that is the fact that, there no Russell Wilson and no Cortland Sutton means they're probably running the ball a lot, and Javonte Williams could get a lot of junk time here. Michael Pittman, who looks like he's going to play. He's still banged up, and dealing with what, happened 2 weeks ago. And unfortunately, you lost him last minute last week, and it contributed to a loss. I think if you had Michael Pittman, you would have won last week, but that's not the case. Hopefully he plays. If he plays this week, you're looking pretty good if he plays this week. And he's got a great matchup against Las Vegas here, and the more importantly, Indianapolis needs him to play, and that's important. Jacoby Myers gets a great matchup against Indianapolis, so obviously the Las Vegas-Indianapolis matchup, very important for you. Dalton Kincaid has to get into the end zone. I think Logan Thomas will have an okay day here. You've got to keep up with Logan Thomas. Justin Jefferson will have a good day against Green Bay. Nothing to worry about there, and at least when it comes down to wide receivers, you have a clear advantage. The Chargers defense against Denver, I mean, we're shutting down shop. So all they've really got to do is stop the run, and I think they pretty much can control the game. Micah Manus, the kicker, has got to go positive. Jay, you need to summon the shit wins, the shit hawk, the inner shit demon, and pile everything you can onto Evan's doorstep so that he walks away as Forever Unclean in 2023. And Evan, it is one of those matchups where you're doing the right thing. You're bringing in Baker Mayfield. You're bringing in Logan Thomas. But I don't care. You got to do other things. You got to get with Jack Little Raven. You guys got to do a war dance. You guys have to paint with all the others in the wind because the shit demon has come, and you got to do everything to find a win in week 17. But I'm going with the little brother to get a win in the last week. Now we get into the championship consolation ladder, where we have our 7th place matchup, which conveniently features number 7, Aaron Felch, taking on number 1, Joe Johnson. Still number 1 in your hearts. Am I right? And Aaron, like I said, a little bit ago, both of us struggling to find a win postseason. One of us will walk away with one in this game. Both of us projected pretty high, and again, we're just fighting for a little positioning in 2024, kind of in the dead zone of the playoffs, but a chance to walk away with some bragging rights. I want to get the second win of the year on you. You want to get some revenge on me. Again, like I said, the bragging rights. So here we go. Let's break it down. I feel a little bit like Dak there. Here we go. But nevertheless, here we go. Will Levis coming in as your quarterback. I wouldn't be opposed to you picking up another quarterback here. It's a tough matchup, and he's banged up. It does look like he's going to play. Like I said, Houston, the matchup here. It doesn't really matter at this point in time who you throw out there. I guess it really doesn't. James Conner and Rachaad White, running backs 1 and 2. Philadelphia and New Orleans, and I would say Philadelphia's run defense is much, much better than their pass defense. However, New Orleans and this Tampa Bay game, normally I'd say, New Orleans taper expectation, but I just feel everything about this game screams Tampa Bay to me. And Rachaad White with the volume, it screams, it's like he can't score anything but 19 points. So I imagine I'm going to have to deal with some of that. CeeDee Lamb gets Detroit. So we'll see what Detroit defense decides to show up. But, CeeDee Lamb, double digits are coming. Courtland Sutton, we talked about, probably not going to play. So you'd be looking for a replacement at wide receiver 2. If he does play, you like the matchup, but no Russell Wilson. Keep that in mind. So maybe that alone's enough for you to swap him out. Higbee, the tight end play here, and gets the Giants. You like that. Garrett Wilson, taper expectation, getting Cleveland here. It's going to be another 5-point day for you. Green Bay, the defense, and McPherson, the kicker. It's 116 to my 126, and that's assuming Brock Purdy plays. Now, he did have his injury designation removed since we've started the recording here, so Brock Purdy is scheduled to play, and against Washington should do much better than the 2 points that I got last week. Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry, running backs 1 and 2, and Chicago should be a great matchup for Bijan as long as they keep doing what they did last week. And then Derrick Henry in Houston, it could be even a day where your quarterback, assuming you stick with Will Levis, throws to Derrick Henry. A higher chance, of course, that being Tajay Spears, which wouldn't make a difference for either one of us. Well, more so for you, I guess. But you never like it when that's the case. Now, Derrick Henry, never a big reception guy, but just I see Tennessee running the ball a lot in this game, especially as we enter towards the end of the season. And they need to win this game if they're going to stick into any kind of a playoff hunt at all. Rashee Rice and A.J. Brown, wide receivers 1 and 2. Cincinnati and Arizona, great matchups. Couldn't really ask for better here to end the year. Isaiah Likely gets Miami, and you know how I feel about tight ends and tough defenses, so actually could be okay for me. Zay Flowers, it just came in. It looks like something's happened during practice, so it looks like I may be going with a completely different wide receiver at this point in time. So great. Hooray for me. And so that completely changes everything that I've said before now when it comes to OBJ and like Rashad Bateman. It could actually be a pretty good matchup. If you have those players, you may end up playing them now that Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews out. Could be a big Isaiah Likely day if that's the case. Cleveland defense and Brandon Aubrey, the kicker. And Aaron, what more could I say that I haven't said all year? You know the drill. It's the end of the year. I have got to win at least one postseason game. I have to have some kind of bragging rights. You're playing Final Boss? Get the fuck off my lawn. That will take us to our 5th place game, where number 6, Jack Little Raven, will host co-commissioner number 5, Aaron Grog. And this game projected within about 8 points, and more of the same positioning, bragging rights, hoping to end the year on a high note. You guys, really, really tough matchups there in the round 2, able to find wins, getting big wins over your opponents. Now, Aaron had the highest scoring team in week 16, so not looking forward to that, Jack, but a chance to hopefully walk away with a little glory, and who doesn't like beating the co-commissioner, right? I mean, and I'll say this, you don't get a chance at the commish himself. We didn't get to play all year, and so I was kind of looking forward to that. I said that before, but if you don't get a piece of the commish, then what's better than getting another matchup with co-commish? So let's take a look at the matchup, Jack, as Dak Prescott's going to come out here against Detroit. We talked about it when we talked about CeeDee Lamb. What's Detroit defense is going to show up, and I think that now that they've secured their position, maybe a little bit of that stress off, and so you play a little easier. It's going to be a tough game for Dallas, another tough game for Dallas. And I will say, at least Dallas has got to come out, got to play angry, got to play mean. And a game they could definitely win. You just need Dak to return to form, and that that month and a half where he was a top 4 quarterback. And I think you have a good chance of winning this game, even though the projection is against you. Now, the biggest thing here, we see Ramondre Stevenson is slotted. That's not going to be the case. It won't matter for you. You have the handcuff, but Ramondre Stevens, season-ending ankle surgery. So Ezekiel Elliott will be coming in as the replacement now. Tyson Chandler will be your running back 2 here. And against Green Bay, as long as Madison is still sidelined, is a great play. Mike Evans and Wan'Dale Robinson, running back or wide receivers 1 and 2. Mike Evans, I could not say enough about Tampa Bay in this matchup here. I think it could be another big day. It's going to be a big day for Mike Evans. Wan'Dale Robinson, touchdown dependent boomer bust player. Travis Kelce gets Cincinnati, and George Kittle, Washington. These are juicy matchups. Unfortunately, weren't enough to get you into the championship round or the 3rd round, but hopefully can get a win for you here in the 5th place game. Dallas's defense has got to do better than 0, and maybe given, their opponent, maybe you're looking for a different defense this week, but it's last week. You don't really have a reason not to run them and see what happens. Tyler Bass, the kicker, it is 113, very close to what you got last week, but you're running into, co-commish, and he's stacking the points this postseason. And, if it wasn't for Austin putting up one hell of a round 1 championship, point total, then, Aaron very possibly is in a championship game here. Thank God he's not, because I would not hear the end of it, especially given this year. Nevertheless, Aaron, here we go. You need some of that, Jack, going in to this weekend. But Matthew Stafford gets a great matchup against the Giants, so easily could hit a 20-point total here. Breece Hall and Kyron Williams, running backs 1 and 2. Now, you're going to taper expectation here. Brees Hall gets Cleveland. Now, Kyron Williams gets the Giants. You love that. Tyreek Hill, this is where it gets a little tougher. Tyreek Hill gets Baltimore, but with no Jalen Waddle, I mean, man, that's 50-50. They could focus more on Tyreek Hill, but I mean, he can outrun everybody, and it could be the Tyreek Hill show. He could put down 50 points. It's a very dangerous situation to have to play, not only have to play, but play against Tyreek Hill this week. Calvin Ridley gets Carolina. You like the matchup. Can he get another 2 touchdowns, 20-plus points, like last week? Chigo Okonkwo gets Houston. I swear to God, if he gets a touchdown again, I'm just salt in the wound that has been the end of my fantasy season. Rashid Shaheed, who I'm actually thinking of playing in another league. I don't know who dropped him. They're a fool. But yeah, I think a great matchup with Tampa Bay. I think, New Orleans is going to have to play from behind, and it will be throw to Rashid Shaheed all day. Philadelphia's defense and Group A, the kicker, it is in your favor. And Jack, I would, you fought hard, but I think 2 things working against you here. I still don't like 2 tight ends. That's always going to be a shtick, when it comes to how I analyze your team. The running back situation, unfortunately, not as good as it could be. Now, we talked about, I'd almost rather have Ezekiel Elliott, knowing what I have to deal with. So, I'm starting Ezekiel Elliott, and I'm happy with that. But, you drop off with Wan'Dale Robinson, and, Tariq's going to have almost all the wide receiving work here. Calvin Ridley's got a good matchup. The flex could be a little bit better. The running back plays are both better. Unfortunately, I've got to go with what I see and the projection here, and that is number 5, Aaron Krog, to walk away with the 5th place game win. But prove me wrong here, Jack. And that's the thing. It's not always the case, but when I pick Aaron, he loses, and when I pick against him, he wins. So maybe I just handed you the win here in week 17. Let's find out. We'll now come to the last matchup of the championship consolation ladder, which will feature the 3rd place game, number 8, Jordan Payne, taking on number 3, Derek Ash. And Jordan, it's been a great run for the postseason for any rookie. You find yourself a chance to finish in the top 3 and maybe get a little money back. Derek, what can I say? You're just a wily veteran in search of who can get into the playoffs consistently in search of a championship win. So it's a chance to finish in the top 3, likewise to get your money back, and I imagine give it right back to me so you're ready for 2024. What have you? Let us go ahead. We'll break it down. This game within 6.3 points. It's pretty much 50-50. Could go either way. And I will say, Jordan, it looks like it's in your favor. It is narrow. So, again, could go either way. But if the projection leading your way, Nick Mullins coming in as your quarterback against Green Bay, it could be a great day. And I don't, what are they putting in the water in Minnesota that makes the quarterbacks viable, decent, fantasy relevant for the very, least. So why not? You've got nothing to lose at this point in time. Josh Jacobs still questionable. Don't know if he's going to play. Doesn't really matter, as you were able to wind up with the handcuffs. So either way, you're okay in that position. Jerome Ford gets the Jets, so tapering expectation here for your running back 2. DK Metcalf and Puka Nacua, wide receivers 1 and 2, and great matchups here with Seattle and the Rams. You're not afraid of, Seattle and the Giants. Not afraid of either one of those defenses. And it could be another huge Puka day. Now, it's one of those things where it could, is it? And it really hasn't been consistent. It's like, well, okay, Cooper Kupp plays and Puka's bad, or Puka's playing and he's good and Kupp's bad. It's literally like a 33% chance that, well, it could be 50-50. They both could do good. They both could do bad. Or Puka Nacua is good. Cooper Kupp's bad. Cooper Kupp's great. Puka Nacua is bad. Which one will it be? My mind tends to tell me that either way in this game, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, great plays, should both hit double digits in this game. Trey McBride, your tight end against Philadelphia, and yeah, I mean, people are torching Philadelphia's secondary right now. They can't stop anything. I cannot imagine Trey McBride not having a good game here. Well into the double digits. Austin Eckler will get Denver, and we're reeling. The only reason I'm saying taper expectation here is because of our defense still being good. But I mean, if they're going to be on the field the whole time because our offense is just shutting down, and we're not playing Russell, Cortland's probably not going to play. So I mean, how much time is our offense even going to be on the field? Now the defense is going to get worn out, and yeah, this could be junk time all day for Austin Eckler. The Rams defense, great waiver wire pickup, and Fairbairn, the kicker, 117 on your projection. And I will say the one thing about Derek, he's been very consistent. There's a reason he's the number 3 team, scored over 100 points last week, came in short. Things sure didn't turn out that as well as you'd like them to. And Jordan still put up 113 last week. So you need to have some production that is, into the hundreds. This is going to be 100-point. I would almost have to say that in these games, top 3, top 2 matchups, you've got to score well into the hundreds to get wins. I think that's clear at this point in time. Not something you have a problem doing, Derek. Tua Tagovailoa against Baltimore, that's where you're going to taper expectation. Tough matchups. And I have to say, Derek, my friend, it is tough matchups all the way down. Almost every single matchup except for the latter half of the team. Tony Pollard gets Detroit, and he doesn't look great. And I don't think Detroit is going to play bad defense in this game. So yes, I think this could be a tough game where you're tapering expectation for Tony Pollard, and likewise for Gibbs. I mean, Dallas's defense is good. Now they've been shaky, but it's a lot had to do with the offense and time and being tired. But yeah, I think Gibbs could have a tough game here. Chris Olave gets Tampa Bay. DJ Moore gets Atlanta. He's a top 8 defense. Sam Laporta gets Dallas. I mean, this Dallas-Detroit game, huge ramifications for your team, and it's a lot of players to have into one game. Sam Laporta, like I said, Dallas. This is where the first matchup gets easy, and then it doesn't. It goes right back to being tough. Josh Downs gets Las Vegas. So, yes, I think Josh Downs could have, a nice 10, 13-point day here. The Jets' defense is an okay play, but against Cleveland's defense, or against Cleveland, okay, we'll see. Myers, the kicker, and Derek, brother, tough matchups. Jordan's got juicy matchups. Even if Josh Jacobs doesn't play, you're not going to like this. But, and let me just say, I'm not, I have nothing against rookies, okay? We love having you guys. We need you guys, obviously. I'm very pleased with the way our rookies have played this year. I mean, the fact that we only have one rookie in the Forever Unclean matchup. We have a veteran in the Forever Unclean matchup. We have a rookie in the championship. We have a veteran in the championship. So, I'm okay with the rookies we've brought in. But at the same time, when it comes to my rookies having absolute super success at the very end of the year, I like my veterans to have that. They've earned it, so to speak. So to have 2 rookies finish in the top 3, just something, it sticks in my mouth the wrong way, but it doesn't change my pick this week because I think it is a bit too much for you to handle, Derek, with these matchups. So give me number 8, Jordan Payne, to finish as the number 3 team this year and knock off Derek Ash. Now the matchup we've all been waiting for. It's Super Bowl 11. There could not be any more of a hype for this game. Like I said, when we talk about a Cinderella story, we're usually maybe talking about someone who's had a rough start that season, and maybe they started 0-5, 0-6, 0-7, and they come back to get into the playoffs and get into the championship. That's not the kind of timeline we're talking about here. We're talking about 5 seasons of never making the playoffs. We're talking about 5 seasons of almost finishing Forever Unclean. We're talking about 1 season where you did finish Forever Unclean. We're talking about leaving the league for another 5 years and having a hiatus where you don't play fantasy at all. And then he comes back. He makes crazy picks. You're telling me that you picked Deebo Samuel with the first round 6th overall pick, and you're going to get into the playoffs. Not only am I going to get into the playoffs, and I'm going to go to the championship round. Holy smokes. I've said it all year. He is the heart of the cards, the Grand Wizard, Forrest Doshier, taking on the rookie, having one of the best rookie seasons of all time. We talk about it previously. We've only had one rookie win a Super Bowl. That was Brad Whitehead. He was, a very veteran, seasoned fantasy player, just like Austin is, comes into the league and goes straight to the top. Much like myself, was 12-2, and he was able to win. We talked about it, the island of misfit toys, the island of waiver pickups that somehow have come and made some kind of productivity where you're scoring into the hundreds every week. So let us break it down. Number 4, Austin Allen. Here comes Jake Browning, and he gets Kansas City, and surely, with Kansas City's defense, you're thinking this is going to be one of those games where he scores the 13 points. At least that's what you're hoping for, Forrest. But I just cannot see Jake Browning scoring 20 points. I mean, again, he would have scored 19 points if it wasn't for 3 interceptions last week. So is somehow this guy able to score 18, 20 points, and he's going to have to score 20 points, Austin, if he's going to keep up with Jalen Hurts. It doesn't matter if good game, bad game, Jalen Hurts scoring 20 points. It's going to happen. Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery, running backs 1 and 2. Looks like Isaiah Pacheco still questionable, may not play. I cannot remember. I don't think you have CEH. Obviously, McKinnon on IR, so, you're going to be having to replace Pacheco if he doesn't play. He gets Cincinnati. This is a matchup you'd like him to be in. David Montgomery seems to be matchup proof. Doesn't matter if Gibbs is playing or not. Now, he does get Dallas. I'm going to taper this expectation a little bit, but no reason he doesn't at least get double digits, I think. T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk, wide receivers 1 and 2. The one thing I like is that I think that Cincinnati will be playing from behind, so he's going to be, that Browning's going to be throwing the ball, and he's going to be throwing to Higgins. That's the light here in the quote-unquote tunnel that is your matchup this weekend. Brandon Ayuk gets Washington, and this is just one thing you have to ask. Who's it going to be? I cannot believe the 2 people who wind up with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are in the fucking championship. You guys, this is insanity. This is absolute insanity. How? Which one will it be? Brandon Ayuk, we know it can't be both. We can't. They never both score good. So last week it was Brandon Ayuk, and almost every time it switches. So is it going to be the Deebo? Is Deebo going to get all the work this week? I think it determines who wins this game. 100% determines who wins this game. Njoku runs into the Jets defense, taper expectation, but yet we talk about tough defenses being good for tight ends. Is that the case here? Devin Singletary, which actually, I don't like it's like, yeah, you're lucky if you get the 9-10 points. And against Tennessee, I will say at least it's Tennessee. But, I mean, you've seen that Tennessee's been playing better lately. So this could be a rough flex play. But it's the misfit toys. Las Vegas, the defense, and Jake Elliott, the kicker. 114 on the projection. It's a 6.5 point projection that you have to climb. It is in your favor, Forrest, the Grand Wizards' favor, and it's going to be tough. Now, I will say Jalen Hurts, much to Austin's chagrin, It is not a tough matchup like what he has. It is a excellent, juicy matchup. You talk about 20 points scoring, win or lose. This is a week where Jalen Hurts could score 30, 35 points, no problem. Raheem Mostert, Justice Hill, running backs 1 and 2. Now, Mostert still a little banged up. I don't see there's any reason he's not playing, but you have to taper expectation. You saw what Baltimore did. CMC still had a good day, but Mostert is not CMC. This is just one of those things. You got to just see what happens, but you're going to taper expectation here. And Justice Hill, likewise, Miami. This is just one of those things. Gus Edwards could get all the end zone work here. That's just something you have to realize, okay? Justice Hill's their speed guy. Now he's going to get the volume. He's going to get the receptions. But again, that goal line work is going to be Gus Edwards. You got to just hope that Hill can get that 8-10 points. That's what he needs for you to get success this week. Jordan Addison has to play. I know that depth is waning on that bench, Forrest, and it's a good matchup with Green Bay. You have got to hope that Addison plays, and if he does, great matchup. Nico Collins coming back, gets Tennessee, love it. Need Nico to have a big day here. Ferguson, Detroit, big defense, big play. I think it's going to be a nice Ferguson day. I think it could be an end zone, could be a multiple end zone day here with Ferguson. Just something in the air. Is it the magic that is the Grand Wizards that I'm smelling? And then we already talked about Deebo Samuel and Ayuk. I absolutely love it. Deebo Samuel against Washington. It happens. It's almost like clockwork. When Brandon Ayuk has the good game, the very next week, Deebo Samuel's having the good game, and that's how I'm feeling it. I mean, even if they both have good games here, Deebo's been the go-to guy. I just can't see it not being Deebo this week. Buffalo's defense and Dicker, the kicker, and here we go. The last decision that I have to make for 2023. Austin, you've killed it. You've been the best rookie that I've brought in. You have hold your head up high, that you've been able to put in the effort, the waiver pickups, the blood, the sweat, and the tears. My hat's off and a mile-high salute to you, sir, that you've been able to do what you've been needing to do. But you know what I can't do? I cannot pick against the Grand Wizard. He has made everything happen that I didn't think was possible. He has had the best season that he's ever had. He's in the playoffs, the championship round for the first time, and there's no way that he's made it this far to get dropped off at the bus stop. Give me number 2, the Grand Wizard, Forrest, Heart of the Cards Doshier, to not only end with his first ever playoff appearance, with his best ever record, but his first championship happening here in 2023. That takes care of week 17, gentlemen. We have one more episode next week to discuss who wins, who loses, who will be forever unclean, who will have the top choice for 2024 draft picks, and who will be our champion for this season. Good luck to everyone, unless, of course, you're Aaron Felch. You can get the fuck off my lawn. Peace out.